Holly Holm, the preacher's daughter. You said in the intro, brother, that she's having arguably one of her toughest matchups against the young, the hungry Ketlen Vieira, ranked number 5 in the women's bantamweight division. But either way, Holly Holm does open up as a minus 210 favorite with a plus 175 comeback for Ketlen Vieira. Now, the interesting thing to me is that Holly Holm is 40 years old and Ketlen Vieira is 30 years old. There's literally a 10-year age difference, but the odds makers don't necessarily seem to have that impact the way they view the outcome of this fight or their predicted outcome of this fight. So I wanted to ask you, man, Ketlen Vieira, oftentimes her advantage in the fight game in most of her matchups come because she is a sizable. She's just bigger. I guess that's the best way to put it, man. She has a big size advantage on a lot of these fighters. She's kind of like broader shoulders, she's in there, and when she grabs you, when she hits you, man, the power is very noticeable. She has real deal pop in her shots. Now, my question to you, AJ, is she going to have that same impact against a Holly Holm, who is all of 5'8"? Both of them are 5'8". Both of them have about 68, 69-inch reach. Holly Holm, man, she's fought in boxing. She's fought all in the 140-pounders. She's fought 145 pounds in the UFC, and this is a 135-pound fight, so she's big for the division herself. Does Ketlen Vieira's size advantage come into play in this fight?
I don't think so, Derek. I think it's a little bit more nullified in this one, especially because Holly Holm's used to seeing all that stuff. Well, I said in the intro, one of the hardest opponents she's faced in quite a long time. But look at her hit list, man. She has some serious killers out there and being fed, but nothing to the wolves, and holding her own, holding up very, very well, man. So I think Holly Holm, one of the advantages that Ketlen Vieira walks into, she's walking in and going to be the bully, going to be the bigger lady, and they're going to walk you down, going to hold you down and beat you up. Now, Holly Holm, she's the same size, and she's dealt with that kind of vigor and persona from her opponents before, so she knows how to deal with it. So that's right there what kind of throws in the big Vieira wrench of her plan, or the wrench in Vieira's plan, excuse me. Because of that fact that she's not going to be able to be the bully, I don't see it working out that well for Vieira, at least in that aspect. I think we're going to see a lot of technical matchups right here, and that's what Holly Holm is best at. If she's going to win this one, I see a technical decision all day long. She just staying out 5 rounds, piecing her up, not allowing Ketlen Vieira to be the bully. Do you see it the same way, or do you see something else coming?
Well, yeah, I think Holly Holm has to play the game if she wants to get the victory, especially as she gets a little bit older and her opponents are younger and hungrier. I mean, at a certain point, you just have to use what you have in the fight game right now, and that is her boxing base that she built her career off of. Use her footwork and her movement to win the fight. I think of Holly Holm. When I think of Holly Holm, I think the female Wonder Boy. I think the female Stephen Thompson. You know what I'm saying? I see somebody who uses their point, that karate style, in and out karate style of Holly Holm, the movement. So she has the boxing, the karate style, the crazy kicks, the side kicks, the oblique kicks. Like, she has all of the distance management tools that she needs, but she has one caveat in her fight, in her tool belt, I guess I should say, that has been a real game changer as of late, and that is her ability to initiate takedowns. That's her ability to surprise her opponent by saying, I'm going to take you down. You take me down, I'm going to get the whizzer, I'm going to get back up. Like I said, she's only been taken down by 3 fighters: Miesha Tate, Valentina Shevchenko, and Raquel Pennington. I mean, that is a pretty solid list of fighters if we're talking about people who are legit in getting people to the ground. Now, the question that I have right here is pedigree, is strength of schedule here, AJ. So Ketlen Vieira is coming off of a big win against Miesha Tate, which a lot of people thought that maybe it was a little closer than it appeared. I picked for Vieira in that fight, and I thought that Vieira actually got the win personally. However, you look at her fight before that, she lost to Yana Kunitskaya, went against Ajara Eubanks. She got knocked out by Irene Aldana in a fight that I thought she was winning until she got knocked out, and she won a split decision against Kat Zingano. Now, that is all great, and that definitely lists Ketlen Vieira as a bona fide women bantamweight contender, bona fide, top 5, right, bona fide. But Holly Holm, brother, I mean, this is just different, man. She's like legendary status. She got a definitive domination 50-45, 50-44 win against Irene Aldana. Completely dominated her, one of the best boxers in the division. Won her second fight against Raquel Pennington, so she's 2-0 against Raquel Pennington. She did get knocked out against Amanda Nunes in a fight where I thought she just kind of got caught slipping. She was trying to check the leg kick and then got kicked in her face. It happens, right? Got a win against Megan Anderson, and then her last loss in her last 5 was against Cyborg. There we go. Against Cyborg Christine Justino, something like that. Either way. Chris. There we go. Chris Cyborg. Apologies, folks. So, but like I said, 4 of her 5 losses have come against UFC champions, brother, in title fights. So this is just much difference. Here's the thing. Obviously, strength of schedule, Holly Holm, right? But power, Ketlen Vieira, right? Speed, maybe Ketlen Vieira, honestly. Maybe. I'm not sure there. Durability, AJ, that's the question. Who's more durable in this matchup?
Man, that's another one I had right there too. Because in my mind, Ketlen Vieira, she's down to bite down on that
Yeah.
mouthpiece. She's down to have the war. You have her coach screaming at her in Brazilian, so you got the drive to be that crazy fighter. I'm kind of going with Ketlen Vieira, especially she has been knocked out. She has been knocked out, so that can happen. But it feels like Holly Holm would much rather play the game,
Yeah.
the tag and tag back game instead of I'm gonna bite down, I'm gonna sit here with my foot in this tire and we're gonna swing to the death. Whereas I feel like that's a little bit more Ketlen Vieira. Do you agree or do you disagree?
No, I absolutely agree with you. And that leads to my next question. Since this fight has taken place at the UFC Apex, tiny cage, brother. I mean, I don't think that's been a problem for Holly Holm in the past, but is that another reason why you're picking Ketlen Vieira in this fight, knowing that she's going to be able to just try to cut off the ring, stalk Holly Holm? But then again, like I said, Holly Holm's literally her best attribute is her footwork and her movement. So do you think that Vieira has a big advantage in that regard, or what do you think?
I think that's going to be the one where it's a little more iffy for me because Holly Holm does have amazing footwork and she has this tendency to not be in the poor places, the bad places. She has a tendency to be in the right spots at the right time to avoid the knockout. Now that being said, in the smaller cage, it's a little bit harder. Things are going, and they're bigger girls in there, man. They're 5'8", They're not the 115 5'2" in there.
Yeah.
They can run around like crazy. So. Yeah, it's a little bit. That was a little toss-up for me. I don't know how that one's gonna go because I can see Holly Holm bouncing around, maintaining distance, staying to the outside, piecing her up technically, and getting the decision that way. I can see that happening. I just think it's more likely that we're going to see fisticuffs being thrown in the first and second and see how it ends up that way.
Well, it's interesting because it's like that method of victory for Holly Holm is basically what she does in every single one of her other fights. So it's like the odds of that happening are probably pretty high. So listen, man, we have a real deal veteran, Holly Holm, right, who I think that she has the edge. One of the big reasons is because of her boxing pedigree, man, because of the footwork that is ingrained in her mind through all the years of that foot in the tire, bounce around, karate style, let's move, you know what I mean? So it's going to be an interesting matchup. The question becomes, can Ketlen Vieira get Holly Holm on her back and keep her there? Because if she does, that changes the entire aspect of this fight. But once again, folks, I don't know how many times I need to reiterate it. Look at all the fighters that she's fought. She's only been taken down by 3 fighters. Once again, Miesha Tate, Valentina Shevchenko, and Raquel Pennington. 2 of those 3 fighters are former champions or current champions, Valentina Shevchenko, you know what I'm saying? So I will just leave that for where it is at. This should be a fun matchup, but let's talk wagers, brother. Obviously, Holly Holm, moneyline favorite. We already know that, right? But let's talk about the actual ins and outs of the props. You said Holly Holm via decision probably is going to be the most likely method of victory if she were to get it done. Well, I'd have to say she's very Caitlin Chikagian-esque because she is a minus 135 prop for a decision victory. She's minus money. Holly Holm, that goes to show. I mean, dude, she has 6 decision wins. Like, she gets down. So that probably makes the most sense. Now, can a TKO happen? Anything can happen in the cage. And if a TKO does happen, plus 450. So that's actually not too bad, brother. However, Ketlen Vieira for a TKO, and I don't know why this is such a high number, plus 1,100, brother. Plus 1,100 for a TKO on Ketlen Vieira. And for a decision, plus 335. So what's the most likely outcome for a Ketlen Vieira victory? TKO or decision?
Man, I was thinking TKO, but by those numbers, I was actually going sub. What's the prop on a sub?
Plus 700 for Ketlen Vieira.
Okay, see that to me makes more sense. Although the plus 400 for the decision, that's interesting. I wonder if it's because in her last fight, her coach didn't want her to take the fight to the ground and kind of wanted that point, battle up top. Man, those numbers kind of throw me for a loop, man, because I think the KO or the submission's a lot more likely for Ketlen Vieira because Holly Holm can win the point fight all day long. So that makes it's interesting, man. I'm still gonna stick to what I think is gonna happen. I'm going Ketlen Vieira with a submission with that plus 700 you're talking about. I think it's gonna happen early too, round 2, maybe round 3. We'll see about that, but yeah, what do you think? Those are some interesting numbers, man. Plus
Well,
or minus plus 1100. What'd you say? That's crazy.
yeah, well, given your reaction, I just went and I double checked to make sure that I didn't just type in an error. And no, brother, Ketlen Vieira by KO, TKO, or DQ plus 1100, brother. So, I mean, that's what the odds makers have it as, man. And I think it's because look at Holly Holm and all the people that she's fought. The only person to ever knock her out in her entire MMA career, Amanda Nunes. I mean, Cyborg couldn't knock her out. You know what I mean? Jermaine Durandamy couldn't knock her out. Like, come on, brother. Came close, but definitely couldn't knock her out. So with that being said, brother, I mean, are you taking the submission prop or what are you taking?
Yeah, I'm still taking the submission prop.
Okay.
Ketlen Vieira submission. Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. So what round do you have it in, brother? Over and under on this fight,
I'm gonna
brother.
go 3. I'm gonna go round 3.
Okay, over and under is 4.5 rounds. So you're taking the under, yeah?
Yeah, still taking the under. I was thinking about that 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there. I think it's gonna happen in the middle of the fight. Yeah. Either way, it's still taking the under if it's 4.5.
All right, and that's what I think for Ketlen Vieira. If she's going to win this fight, I think it has to happen early. Holly Holm can dance around you for 5 rounds, no problem. Can Ketlen Vieira last those 5 rounds, though? It's going to be a great question. I mean, the Miesha Tate fight was indicative of maybe what can come, but we'll see what happens. But that is your main event, folks. I am rocking with Holly Holm. AJ's rocking with Ketlen Vieira. I'm going points for Holly Holm at that minus 135 prop. So a little bit better odds than the minus 210 for Holly Holm, but plus 700 on the submission prop for Ketlen Vieira on AJ's side. We will see what happens. And that is the lone different pick between us both. Everything else should be a lock for us. So let's move on with the next one, brother.